Well, good afternoon, everyone. Are y'all still having a great time here at the Texas Pinball Festival? Some incredible stuff going on. We're continuing with our seminars now, and I would like to introduce from Stern Pinball, Tanio Klyce, who is going to be talking about Behind the Game, Foo Fighters.
All right. Hello, Texas Pinball Festival. Let's see, can I hold this thing? All right, sibilants, can you hear me? Sibilants, okay. So it's a panel of one, Tanio Klyce from Stern Pinball today. Jack Danger was supposed to, he regrets that he's not able to be here with everybody. He had a family emergency he had to attend to, and he really wanted to be here to celebrate Texas and pinball and festivals. And anyway, he sends his love. He says that, he said that he loves you and he's in love with you. And also he says, hello, internet. Anyway, this is fun. I'm Tanio Klyce. I'm a software guy at Stern Pinball. I've been there for almost 11 years. And before that, I was in the video game industry, making video games. Around 2006 or so, I became obsessed with pinball machines. I played them a bunch when I was a kid, and then video games came along and it took over my life. And then around 2006, I saw the inside of a EM pinball machine, and I saw that there was no computer there. And I'd been making computer games for 14 years, and I was like, wait a minute, how does that work? And then so you open it up, and I was lucky enough to live close to the Pacific Pinball Museum in Alameda, California. And they have a clear pinball machine where you could play the game and see all the motors going and everything, and the sparks going on the relays. And from that moment on, I was like, I had to understand. I mean, I'm really into the history of games and the history of computers, and I really just like, how do you do it without a computer, man? That's crazy. So that led me down the path the path of darkness that I have come to now as a person who's been at Stern Pinball. So what I'm trying to say is I'm an enthusiast. I got into did a customization of Earthshaker with Dirty Donnie and Wade Krause back in 2007 or 8 or 6 or something. We took an Earthshaker and Dirty Donnie repainted the whole thing it was like a one-off project. And so I finally made it. Just at the time, around 2007-8, I decided I wanted to get into the pinball industry. I'm done with video games, I'm gonna do pinball. And then there was an economic turn that made it so there are no pinball jobs. So then I started doing custom stuff, and when things started picking up again, then I jumped on the wave, and here we are. It's really incredible to see everything. I mean, every year coming back to tournaments, there's always been passion there, but then the growth and all the new people and the young people playing and just everything has just been incredible to watch from those dark days of 2008 to now. It's been just amazing. And it's amazing to see all the projects that are out there and all the DIY stuff and all the companies that have come and are showing their stuff, including Stern Pinball. And it's really exciting to be a part of this whole wave. It's neat. So anyway, so I'm gonna tell you what's behind the scenes, Foo Fighters. I'm going to start from the beginning, how it all started. All right, so Foo Fighters is a rock and roll band. The term Foo Fighters was used by the Allied, I'm going to read this whole thing, by the Allied aircraft pilots during World War II to describe various unidentified flying objects, mysterious aerial phenomena seen in the skies over both European and Pacific theaters of operations. It all started with Dave Grohl talking to us about the Foo Fighters fan. So actually, that all started with Jody Dankberg, our licensing developer, director guy, who goes and develops relationships with different licenses and rock bands and movie stars and stuff. And the Foo Fighters were interested in doing a pinball machine, and we were interested in doing one. And when the time came for the team was ready to go, I had the honor of being in a Zoom call with Dave Grohl, which was pretty cool. It was during the pandemic. It was Thanksgiving, and he was at home, and I got to see him on a Zoom call, and Jody was there, and Zombie Yeti was there, and George Gomez was there. It was kind of early on, and he pitched we pitched to him, like, we want to do something with UFOs and abduction, and that's what the Foo Fighters are all about, right? And he was like, well, that's kind of, yeah, let's do that, but I want to do about something about the van. And so the van, the Foo Fighters van that you see up in this picture here is, this is sort of it's his van, and it's pretty much the van that they used to tour through the U.S. when they started out in the 90s. And he has done a documentary called What Drives Us, where he talks about his van and his experiences being on the road with a rock band, going from place to place. All these stories about, like, late night, the smells and the fights and the food and the rock and roll. And it's really neat. Like, the guys from AC/DC and Aerosmith are in the documentary, and it's a really neat story. And then before the pandemic hit, they were planning on doing a Foo Fighters van tour, and they were going to bring the van from city to city, and they're going to drive the van into big arenas, get out of the van, and do big rock shows. And that was going to be the theme of that tour for, I guess, whatever year that was. But then that all, they had to cancel everything when everything went dark for the dark times. But out of that darkness comes light, which is pinball, right? So what he was pitching was kind of like, I want the game to be like you're in the van, and you're traveling, across the country. It's late at night. You might see something up in the sky, like, oh, what's that? And like, oh, did you see that? And then, like, eventually you sort of build up the tension, and then this big event happens. The light shines down, everything shakes, and they get abducted and have some big rock and roll battle with an alien. So that was kind of the genesis of the idea. So we took that and have fleshed it out further into, like, a pinball story. Meanwhile, back in the lab, it all started with George Gomez thinking that this guy right here, it was a good idea to give him access to the tack welder in the shop. And anyway, so after Jack sort of proved himself both in all the DIY stuff and all the live streaming of the cool stuff he was making, homebrew stuff he was making, he then came on to Stern and made the Jurassic Park Home Edition, and that was sort of his proving ground. And then once he did that, he was up to bat to become a Cornerstone designer. So this was Jack's first Cornerstone game, and it was pretty. It's cool. So from the early days, early on, the way Jack works, I wish he was here to tell you, but one of the things he does a lot, which you see if you watch some of his homebrew streams, is he does a lot of prototyping in visual pinball. And he lays out these shots in visual pinball, and he moves the ball around and plays it and tweaks and tweaks and tweaks in there. So when he brought that into our mechanical engineers, their response was, that's not AutoCAD. That's not even reality. That's just virtual. That's not going to work, man. And so there was kind of like a joke, like, that's not AutoCAD. That was kind of this thing. And but the magic was that it turned out it did work. Like, he designed these really interesting shots. Like, he's got some very, if you played Foo Fighters, it's got some really awesome crossover shots, some things that are risky to manufacture, but it works. And I'll tell you, it wasn't like just the first time you put it together. There, some of the shots weren't quite right, and you had to make sure the pinball machine was just the right this and that. There was a lot of tweaking to do, but we got it to a point through lots of tweaking that this thing works, and it's kind of a neat process that he has. I remember in the past when early on in my days, 10 years ago at Stern, like bringing up visual pinball and that kind of stuff to the older designers, they're like, "Oh, that never works. You got to do it in reality." And truthfully, to manufacture a game, you do need to build it. But he was able to invent some, like a lot of the shot paths are all pretty much what he designed from in visual pinball. But pretty quickly, he got to the point where we catted up the play field, and then he started building parts. or we started building parts and starting to put it together. And this shows a little bit of Jack's process of he taped down a printout of the whole playfield to scale, and then started like taping things. And he uses a lot of blue tape. That's his signature color for tape, is blue tape. And he would just keep on. He would put the shots down, see if they worked, and there was a lot of iteration, pretty quick iteration that happened to get to the point where it was a playfield that was awesome, in my humble opinion. So that happened, and then what else happened? So in the meantime, I was starting to work with him, just fleshing out the ideas for rules and theme. Jack, he was very adamant. He wanted to be more than just a music game, like not just stuff from the songs, but something that had a story to it. And Dave Grohl had said the same thing, like he wanted this journey. So we started coming up with the structure of you're in the van with the band, and you're going from city to city, and like every good pinball machine, you have to save the world. And so then we came up. That's what we said with the early pitch to the Foo Fighters management was, you're going to be saving the world from some nebulous bad guy, and we didn't know who that was at the beginning, but we just knew there was some kind of alien technology, and maybe they're going to modify their van to have it, give it big superpowers, make it faster, have lasers or whatever. So what this shows is kind of some of the early meetings with Jack and I. On the left is Jack is really, his thing is blue tape. Mine is sticky notes, and sometimes I'll have sticky notes up all over my walls. But I took all my sticky notes off my walls, and they have different ideas for themes, different elements of songs, and we started putting them onto the playfield, and he would write down ideas, and we had all the colored pencils and everything, and just sort of brainstormed how this structure maps onto this playfield. And then later on, as the rule structures started coming in, this is kind of a neat thing we did. That Jack's idea was to take like a bucket of inserts, and to do our insert layout, we first started with, he would just place them physically place these inserts on the table to sort of mess with the layouts. And it was, the final layout looks a little bit more like this. This is an early whitewood. And you can see like up around, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but yeah, there's some stuff that's the same, like the structure of the modes with that kind of triangle of modes down the bottom is the same. The place where the foobot wasn't a foobot yet, and that was some other structure. And then Jack didn't want me to show you this picture, but this was right before he cut his mullet, and he's giving a thumbs up. And so that's our Jack Danger. I'm now going to focus a lot on art and story stuff, because since I'm not the designer, I can tell you what I saw, which was lots of iteration, lots of going back and forth with mechanical engineering, and lots of testing, and lots of playing, and Jack running into my office saying like, "You got to come try this shot! Oh my God, it's working!" And it was very exciting. Cool. So in the meantime, it all started with some concert posters by Zombie Yeti. So before all this, Zombie Yeti had done concert posters. He's done posters for lots of bands like Primus, the Melvins, and the Foo Fighters. And for the Foo Fighters, he came up with this idea of this alien that just had really, he was wearing a disguise that were just like really terrible disguises, but he was able to live amongst the humans. And so that was kind of the joke of his posters, that like this, he's like a baseball player, or he's a hitchhiker. And as we'd been talking about, what we want the story to be, and that we wanted some bad guy, Jeremy came up with like, well, he really wanted to incorporate this character into the story, and that was the birth of the character we call the Overlord. I'm telling this in a non-linear way because That's the aspect. That's how all pinball is. So so the Overlord is an alien. He fell to Earth. We came up with a backstory. He fell to Earth in around 44, crash landed near Roswell. He was captured by scientists. He was raised by scientists, sort of lovingly he had his own bedroom in the Area 51. And he watched a lot of television, a lot of cartoons, and at some point he decided he wanted to make the world better by bringing order to the world. So what he did was he donned this really terrible disguise, which is a skeleton mask. And he had watched a lot of He-Man, and he decided, I'm gonna be like Skeletor, and I'm gonna rise up and sort of take over the world. And so that's the origin of the Overlord. And meanwhile, the Foo Fighters are coming along, and they're gonna fight this orderliness with rock and roll music, which, as everybody knows, rock and roll is the fire of the human spirit and freedom and self-expression. Whereas the thing that the Overlord is into is more like techno music that has like a very fixed beat. It's very computery. It's I won't say soulless, but it sort of confines people to not rock, I guess. So that's sort of the thematic stuff we were working with. Some of these pictures are so the idea development for early on. This is some stuff early on that Zombie Yeti did, both doing kind of working out the style of what the band members are going to look like, kind of brainstorming ideas about the van, how this van we've gone out and the Foo Fighters, as they're traveling across the country, are finding pieces of broken alien technology and adding it to their van and upgrading. And meanwhile, the Overlord has these little robots that he sends out to reformat people to try to take over the world. So one thing that happened while he was sort of just drawing stuff was this thing in the middle here that says Grolbot. And he presented it to Jack and I as like, this is just something he just thought of. He thought, it's kind of stupid, but what do you guys think? And both Jack and I saw that and were like, oh my God, that's so awesome. We need that. Like, how would we put that in the game? So that was the birth of what is now called the Foobot, which you'll see featured in the game and featured as on our topper. The idea of the Foobot is all the six band members come together to form the mighty Foobot so that they can battle the Overlord. As you can tell, all of us are into pop culture and into toys. Zombie Yeti was really into incorporating kind of toy ideas into the game. So that really inspired, and in fact, like the color schemes of the van they kind of inspired by a Superman toy, this yellow and red thing. And the colors of the Overlord came from Lex Luthor's ship, which is in the bottom left, which is the purple and green and kind of mauve colors. Like all that stuff came from like lots and lots of time spent looking at pictures of toys from the 70s. And then, let's see, we developed other stuff. Yeah, here's a picture, like some pictures of the toys in the game. These are on the Premium and the LE. Those early pictures were sort of developed over time. Like this shows the Overlord and the mech in the middle. And then eventually we had it made into a solid model and then manufactured and then sent to us and painted. And these are some of the early samples. And there's a lot of details that go into this, including like all the color matching. We put a lot of care to make sure that kind of dirty orange came out just right. Here's showing Jack's wizardry with creating plastic stacks, which is I'm pretty impressed by. You'll see on the Pro, we have to take something out of the game to make it fit our bill of materials for the Pro. And so we took out the Overlord and we made a plastic stack of the Overlord. The Area 51 upper playfield is not on the Pro, so we created he created a cool plastic stack, and then Jeremy arted it to. If you look at the playfield, it looks really beautiful. Let's see here. So the Overlord. This is some stuff about the reformatted. This is kind of this is what happens when you put on the goggles. And you, so the theme of the game is that the Overlord's trying to brainwash everybody with these techno goggles and techno music. In the meantime, the Foo Fighters are running around trying to free people from this brainwashing with rock and roll music. So next up, we have, so a lot of people put a lot of ideas into this game. We had the opportunity, it was a kind of a really nice, wonderful opportunity to invent a lot of stuff for this game. Working with the Foo Fighters was awesome. They were pretty much into, like, we would come up with ideas, throw them over to them, and they were like, oh, that's awesome, and like, because they were way into pinball, into toys and all this stuff, so it was a really good relationship that we had going. So having all those opportunities, we had lots of people on our team, and we pretty much structured it like pretty much everybody could contribute ideas, and whatever the best ideas win, So we went through lots of iterations, and I'm very proud of what the whole team has done. This is an example of what Phil Gullett, when he was one of the first animators on the team, and he did a lot of the storyboarding. And he brought, we started out with writing out like what each scene was going to be, and that was a team of writers, including myself and Cheryl Wagner and Jack Danger and Eric Lederman and some other, like the Kizavat brothers from Stern Pinball. And then we gave these kind of like scene descriptions to Phil, and then he fleshed it out with visual storytelling, which starts with storyboards. And he came from the animation world, like 2D animation world, so he was already familiar with how to do this process of describing like each shot, breaking the story down into a visual story. And then from that, we do things like animatics. This here is an example of a simple animatic. That started out as our animation of song select at the beginning, but that actually inspired what eventually became our pitch. So this you might have seen. This is the whole sequence of like the Overlord is looking over the earth. So this originally was the pitch that we sent to the Foo Fighters management to show them what the animation style was that we wanted to do, and they loved it, and everybody loved it so much that it became what we put out as our story teaser when we launched the game, and it's pretty. To me, it's cool just to see it go from this to that, and it also is now like the intro to the whole game. You start up the game and you go through that sequence in a more kind of interactive manner. Let's see what we have here. So this is part of our collaboration tool. This is something that if you saw the Venom talk yesterday, this is a tool called Lucid Spark. That's a web whiteboard that's collaborative. And so what we did was put everything we could. It was sort of like since a lot of people were working remotely, we created a big storyboard. We used it both for sharing ideas with each other, kind of giving everybody on the team, visual guidance and like ideas like who's the Overlord and what does it look like and what does the playfield look like, as well as tracking like the status of things. We had like used that as a big visual whiteboard to show all the tasks tracked and stuff. It was pretty cool. This here is an example of a character sheet. This was done by one of our animators, and it basically shows you how to draw each character in our style. So including like Pat Smear, and if you want to draw Pat Smear, you need this kind of little signature kind of bump right here or kind of a crease on his nose. Let's see, how much time do we have? Okay, cool. Here's some examples of the UI being developed. This was primarily Zach Stark, who is Zach Stark was sort of the lead. Both Phil was the animation lead, and Zach Stark was sort of the guy. He did all the AI, the UI, and also kind of led the team and helped break down all this massive amount of detail that we came up with into things, into manageable tasks and stuff. This is more examples of just some of the backgrounds that some of our artists like Olivia and Mimi Ernst and everybody drew. And you'll see this, like the TV is in the bonus sequence, and we have this kind of synthesizer thing is in our credits reel. This here is the tilt. Some of the tilt animations are like it's basically the Overlord with different toys, different outfits on. Like this is what you call that's Disco Overlord, and that's World War II fighter pilot Overlord, and that's the Sherlock Holmes Overlord. There's lots of detail went into this game. All right, so let's see. That's an example of Area 51 on the Pro. The plastic stack became a paper stack, and then that's sort of the prototyping process that Jack went through for developing the Area 51 on the Pro. Let's see what we have next. Meanwhile, all this time, Zombie Yeti is fleshing out the playfield and the plastics, and it's pretty amazing to watch him work. He starts with black and white of everything, and then he adds layers. I think if you saw the Venom talk yesterday, you probably had better examples of seeing the black and white and then the color, and as it all comes together. It's really amazing to watch him work and to work with him. Like a lot of these ideas that are in this game came out of his brain. Like, for instance, he drew this, and then we decided, okay, well, we need to have a massive battle between the Foobot and the Overlord. So he drew that. I mean, a lot of these ideas kind of came out of, like, he started with this massive image, and then we fleshed it out, all the rules and the story and everything around it. Another big part of this game has been the voiceover recording. A lot of it was done. Jerry Thompson up in the top left. This is a shot from us doing our voice recording of the roadie in the game that you probably recognize. He's Brian Headley. He's actually a pinball operator in Seattle that just had the right voice that we were looking for, and so he was really great to work with. And now I'm going to go on to rules. All right, so this is how rules happen. In my mind, this is the way I do it. Both Jack and I. So I worked on Deadpool, and Jack came into this project telling me that Deadpool is his favorite game. Let's just do Deadpool again. And so we didn't do that, but we did. It came from the similar kind of principles of what we used in Deadpool. When I did Deadpool with George Gomez, the thing that George really nailed home for me was cause and effect. So when you hit something happens, and it's very easy once you do it a couple times to know. It teaches you, like, when I hit that thing, this thing's going to happen. So that's like the basic piece of everything. I think to me, the Monster Bash is a really good example of that, where each shot is a different character, and you hit that character, and it advances that character. We used some of that kind of concept on Deadpool and brought it forth on Foo Fighters, especially with the Overlord is this toy that you hit, and you had this story that you're advancing, and it becomes 3 different multi-balls. And then we have the van is on the left side, and as you spell van, and then you hit that left ramp and go to the van, and then you travel to 6 different cities. So each one is sort of based on that kind of same thing. Like the right ramp leads you to the Area 51, and that eventually leads to Area 51 multi-ball. So the other thing I learned from Monster Bash, and then from doing some more layering of things in Deadpool was just the idea of advancing multiple stories all at the same time and multiple rules at the same time. So you can choose to to work your way towards getting a van mode lit and then start the Overlord multi-ball. Similar to, so basically you can choose how you're going to stack different modes and things like that. And you can, if you want, you can focus on I just want to start Area 51. And so you just hit the right ramp and hit all the targets and you keep working that. Or you can work on just the Overlord, which is, that one's meant to be something that people are able to get to, someone who's new to pinball can get to. So I started with a kind of a simple structure. We then sort of got more complicated, and then we got to really delving into the rules. I would say that I'd like to focus on the rules that are good for beginners and for myself. I'm sort of an intermediate player, and then the heavy detailed stuff and the stuff that really makes the tournament playing work really came out of Raymond Davidson's work on this game, which has been incredible. He really fleshed out a lot of the details, the scoring, and continuing, plays it and plays it and plays it, and like checks in different changes at 2 a.m. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So he's been a real powerhouse on this game. All right, let's see, 440. All right, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and transition to talk about the Combotron. So we just released 1.0, and the 1.0 features a couple of new things. One is the topper with the Toy Time multi-ball support, and we have the Combotron, which is something that has been, it's been an insert on the playfield since the very beginning, and it's been an idea since the beginning, and we finally got it done in 1.0. Basically, the idea is it's a combo system, and as you make the combo shots, if you look closely, there's a lot of detail on this. Each shot that you're making has a different little node on this 6-pointed shape, and you can draw different shapes with it. You'll see that as you make a combo, once you complete the combo by shooting the Overlord, it makes a little symbol up on the Combotron meter, which is in the upper right corner. It looks like this thing on the upper right. And the idea is that you collect a bunch of combos, so you collect 6 combos, and then once you have 6 of them, it lights Combotron, and it goes into this mode where, based on your scoring of how long your combos are, you could do 6 2-way combos, or you could do 6 5-way combos, depending on how long your combos were. The scoring of Combotron is going to be more and more valuable. So, and then the story behind it is kind of, we based it on a scene from a movie I like a lot. And this is sort of, it's a sort of a synthesizer conversation between Rami, the keyboard player, and the aliens. So it's kind of cool. Like when you play this mode, you'll hear, as you're making shots, you'll hear the synthesizer music playing on top in sync with the music, and it's sort of the idea is the rock and roll and synthesizer music are all working together to bridge the gap between the aliens and the rock and rollers to hopefully bring peace to the universe. Also, I don't know if y'all have been out to our booth, you'll see this is the Foobot topper is out. It's been in the works for a while, and I'm really proud of how it came out. It features both the Foobot head and also some amazing plastic stack work that Jack laid out, and then Eddie Hicks, our engineer, really made it work, and then Jeremy arted up, and the whole thing is beautiful, and it's timed with these light shows that are done by Mike Vinicor, MXV, who you might know from, he's sitting right there. Say hi, Mike. So he did an awesome job. Like every single song has its own light show so all those rock and roll lights go off. And then when the Foobot talks, he's like his mouth and his eyes are flashing to the music. I think it's awesome. And make sure you go out and check it out. This is the first one that's out in the wild. So being able to see it with your own eyes, this is the first opportunity anybody's had other than people internal to Stern. Check it out. So now I'll run this. This is our credits sequence. A lot of people put it a lot of time, energy, ideas, positive energy, and stuff into this game, and it takes a lot of people, a huge company, and to pull this off. And I'm really proud to be part of it. These are just some of the names of people who contributed to this thing. It's been a dream project for me, and I really loved being involved with it. It's been great to work. It is great to work on it. I continue to work on it. It's great to work with Jack and Zombie Eddie and George Gomez and everybody. Anyway, so it's about 4:45, so I think what I'm going to do is open it up for questions and conversation. If anybody has questions, or we can talk about whatever we want. Yeah, if you have questions, please come up to the microphone right up here. So, because this is all going on the record, man. I think is that John Borg? Can you, the microphone. All 6 of the band members got games.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Any with multiple models? Because when we did Metallica a long time ago, James took all 4 models.
I'm not sure what the whole deal was. All I know is I've seen, I know each one got a LE.
Okay.
At the very least.
Did we do anything, special plaques for those games for them specifically to add to the game?
I'm not the right person to ask, but we
Okay.
probably did do some special stuff for them.
I was just wondering. All right, thanks.
Thanks, John Borg. All right, anybody else have questions? All right. So, anyway, it's a real honor to be up here. I'll just start. Anyway, the energy at this place is awesome. I mean, this is the first time at Texas, and I've talked to a bunch of people. Today I was hiding out in my room preparing this talk, which thank you for sitting through the technical difficulties. But it's really neat to be a part of this community. Hi, Neil McRae.
Hey Tanio, first of all, great game. I've got the LE and we've got a premium in our club and folks love it. My question is, so I'm an online guy, has the advent of Insider Connect changed how you go about designing the game and the rules? Or what's the process? How has the process changed since before Insider Connect and after Insider Connected?
So your question is, how do the rules change, from when we design them to when we implement them and test them?
No, it's so before, let's take an example, Ghostbusters, you write the code, you put the game out. Today you've got Foo Fighters, you write the code, you have to think about the online aspect of it. And how has that changed the process of designing and developing the rules?
Oh, right.
Or has it?
So for me, I'm very involved with Insider Connected, and but for me, for Foo Fighters, I focus mostly on the traditional game. We definitely think about every game on Spike 2 we have achievements, and so and those are the achievements usually fall from the rules, and so you find goals that are in the rules. The person that's been pushing the frontier for what we do with Insider Connected, I would say, is Dwight Sullivan. And actually, so his project came after Foo Fighters. Venom, I think, was the first one to really push what we do when you do online features for games. In particular, the persistent data, like being able to have things leveling up, have your characters level up, and then be able to progress up into the game, have it so you can progress and play over and over again and get to that final null battle, something that previously was not accessible to everybody unless you were taking the glass off or something. But I foresee us, especially Dwight and all of us, doing more and more as that. But I always, like I said, I'm very involved in Insider Connected. But the first job is to make sure it's a pinball game, and that's what we all do first. And then, how do we add more? How do we add more features that enhance the game, and how do we do things that are going to not only add replayability, like the quests that we're running, add excitement and new kind of ways to play, And we're continuing to explore that and continue to develop in that direction of things that anything like stuff that we can do to make more player, make it just fun over time, whether it's collecting things or ranking up or all that kind of stuff.
And as no one here is asking a question, I'm going to ask another one. Is there anything, looking back at this game, is there anything that you would want to do differently that you thought, if only we'd thought about that a year ago? I don't know.
I got to tell you, I'm really happy with this game. I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, I love it personally. And part of it too, like you put the game out, and then there's time. I mean, we're not done when the coding's not done when we ship the game. We get it as far as we can, but part of the process is the iteration, the community playing it, getting feedback, learning things. We usually there's a lot of tuning, both of rules and of like what. Of how the progression happens, the timing and things like that. And a lot of that you don't really get until you see how people play. You watch people streaming tournaments. You see Escher do some crazy exploit on something,
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
So when you think about games that don't have pop bumpers in them, like a couple games come to mind, like Swords of Fury or Shadow, and there's probably some others as well. I was just curious, what was the thought behind keeping pop bumpers out of this game?
That's a good question for Jack. It was sort of a trick. Anyway, it doesn't have pop bumpers, but what it has is something you could call like a unidirectional pop bumper, also known as the kicker target. It's something that came from games like Haunted House, where it's not a spherical pop bumper, but you still hit it and it shoots in a certain direction, and that turned out to be pretty darn cool because if you missed a shot you were making often, it would make a shot for you, but. Yeah, so we definitely had the elements of random, like a pop bumper adds randomness. We have that, but Jack really wanted to focus on like crazy, weird flows, and then he did a lot of ricochet shots, like you can hit off of the drop targets into the thing up here and then make a shot around here. That's what he. Hopefully I answered your question. I heard pop bumpers, and I know pop bumpers.
Hey, I was wondering, how did you guys decide to bring in Brendan Small to collaborate with him to do the voice of Overlord? Did he do anything else in the game as well, or did you guys like his work in home movies and other stuff that he's done, and that's why you wanted to bring him in, or? What was the reason?
Well, actually, so Brandon Small, you might recognize him from Metallica, he was the voice of Sparky in Metallica. He's done a bunch of stuff with us, and I think that we're. So Jody Dankberg knew him from a former life as in the rock and roll business, and so he was friends with him, and it was just like he's somebody who loves pinball, and he's an incredible talent, and also just he's really fast, really professional. I mean, it's amazing if you've watched Brendan Small's Metalocalypse, like how much of it, like a whole show done primarily out of the music and a lot of voice acting, and a lot of the ideas all come out of him. So, but yeah, it came out of our relationship. Jody's got some really great relationships with people, and that's how it happened. And he we sent him the scripts for the stuff, and he loved it, and he nailed it, I think.
So I may just be out of the loop on a joke, but could you, and I want to make sure I saw it correctly, could you clarify why the credits included a samurai pizza cat?
I'm sorry, I can't hear the question.
The credits, when you were showing us the credits, one of the credits said Samurai Pizza Cat.
Oh yeah, Samurai Pizza Cat. Is this still working? Samurai Pizza Cat isn't actually a cat. He's a fellow who's an animator. He's worked at Stern for a while. His name's Denai, but that's his street name. Yeah. So, but he did. Uh-oh, what just happened? Thanks, Microsoft. All right. Anyway, yeah, Denai is a great guy. He worked on Deadpool as well, and awesome guy. All right, more questions. Make sure you talk close to the microphone so I can hear you.
Over the last few years, we've really seen rule sets get more and more complicated, and I've really appreciated your games, Foo Fighters and Deadpool particularly. So I was wondering if you could just talk about, like, now that, lots of people are ending up with games in their home, you want to have this replayability and depth, but you also want to make things approachable to new players and when they're playing games on location.
So I think I understood your question. If this isn't right, let me know. Your question is, well, so I personally, yeah, we both want to, like, I want pinball to be, the pinball we make to be fun for everybody, as we all do. And so, like I said, my focus has been on, like, one of the things that warmed my heart the most was to see kids playing Deadpool and, like, see pictures of kids, and and a lot of it that attracted them to that was just little Deadpool. Like, you hit him and then he goes across the screen on a little unicorn, and so that was, and the idea is for me is to both make it accessible to somebody who's never played before, but then also make it deep and fun. So it's very difficult to do, and I couldn't do it alone. I need Raymond Davison on my side on Foo Fighters, and Tim Sexton on Deadpool did a lot of the stuff that people, the rule part of it. I did a lot of rules too, but I gotta say, and also Mike Vinacore did a bunch of, actually, so Tim started on the project, and Mike Vinacore, right there, he and I hammered out Deadpool for many months and made that into what it is. So it's not easy, and it's a lot of work, it's a lot of play testing. For us, like, the trick is if Gary plays it and he has fun, that's like the first step, and then the last step is if it's played in a tournament and people want to keep playing in the tournaments, and people keep playing it in their basements, then it's like long-term awesome. So, did that answer your question? Awesome, good.
I think it might be, are there discussions about, like, trying to make games, where people are saying, like, this is too complicated, you need to pull it back, like, this isn't complicated enough or deep enough, like, it seems difficult to me, like, it seems like you could just put so many things in, but that makes it hard.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in all our games, and I try to structure it in a way, personally, where you don't have to know about it. You kind of explore, and it's sort of like a video game where you don't know everything about everything in the game, and you don't have to. You build on skills, like once you've mastered Overlord multi-ball, then you discover, like, we have bot targets. If you hit those bot targets, and then you complete the bot award on the right target, you'll eventually light extra ball, and then you'll light bot frenzy. There's a whole sonic radio mode on the left side is the sonic radio targets. You'll get mystery awards. If you keep hitting them enough, there's a mode there. So it's like there's stuff there that's like what Dwight Sullivan calls close to the start button, which is what we usually focus on first, is to make sure you push the start button, and for at least the first month of your experience with the game, you're having fun, and then we work on the stuff that's farther and farther out. You want to add to that, Dwight? No. Oh, okay. I learned all that from Dwight, by the way, Dwight Sullivan, and from Lyman, and from Lonnie, and from George. Are we out of time? We're just about out of time.
I think we are. Everybody's got all kinds of other places to be. Again, thank you to Tanio Klyce from Stern Pinball.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening.
Great discussion about behind the scenes on the Foo Fighters. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.